name is Nurul, and I am 15 years old. I study at Sekolah Menengah Siti Budi at Gombak.
And I am 21 years old. Currently a full-time student in UiTM. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Nabilah. I am 25 years old and I'm studying in Harvard University in Putrajaya.
My age is basically I'm 30 years old. Previously, I was studying chemical engineering in United States. Right now, I'm working as operation associates in blockchain industry.
I am 42 years old and currently working as IT officer, or you might call it as system analyst, in a central government agency for almost 17 years.
So first thing first, I'll be answering about my personal experience in learning English as a second language. When I talk about my personal experience, I would say that I have a rich experience in learning English. English was taught to me for almost 10 years, starting from kindergarten till I'm in high school now. So it's been a long journey of learning. All the English classes in my high school were compulsory, as I'm learning all my subject, either science or mathematics, all in English. Other than that, watching Hollywood movies were how I learned to speak fluent English without stuttering. Whatever strange words I heard the characters speaking, I always noted them down and then searched them up.
I greatly appreciate the English language as a whole, because English has always been a majority part of my life, as in the way I speak and the way I think. So most of the time I'll be conversing in English between the student and also the lecturers. I believe that proficiency in English itself is not as important as the intended message that is conveyed by the speaker. Language is important to a certain extent, but for academic purposes or maybe for formal setting, yes.
For me personally, I did learn English since I was a little kid, and right now I'm using it to have a daily conversation with my friends since I have a lot of friends from foreign countries. In my personal opinion, I think English might help all the Malaysians to expand internationally in terms of business. Yes, I think so, because we use media almost every single day of our life. So if we keep on seeing English language in everything, it might impact our national language.
My study environment is always use English as their main communication network or channel. Before I studied in US, I was in a pre-uni in Malaysia in Telus University, which is we do have a lot of multicultural students there. And then when I was in US, definitely we use English a lot. So my English, I would say it's being influenced by US culture mostly. The slangs, the words used. Even now, when I'm working, we don't really use a lot of UK English. We use like US English.
As you know, in our Malaysia public sector, we usually use Bahasa Melayu as the main medium of communication. And as an IT officer, I use English occasionally in my work, especially during certain events and when specific requirements demand me to talk or to speak in English. And for a government worker, it's a valuable skill that enhances our ability to communicate internationally and understand global perspective.
So my thoughts on the use of English and other languages in Malaysian education system is that it helps students nowadays to be more confident to have a conversation with foreigners, meaning that learning multiple language will also allow us to communicate effectively with people from all over the world, making traveling a lot easier and help us to learn more about different cultures. The importance of English language can actually be seen in almost every aspect of our life.
To be frank, I do not know much of the Malaysian language policy, but I know that Bahasa Melayu is the main language in most setting, either in education or in the government sector. So Bahasa Melayu is the main language. So I would appreciate if in some way, since we are moving to a globalization, it would be good if we could consider using English as a substitute to Bahasa Melayu within the, I would say, surat menyurat, activity surat menyurat, yeah.
I mean, we can still use Malay as our national language, but English is much more used for something that is related for something out of our country instead of inside the country itself. I can still talk in Malay and talk in English at the same time.
What I'm aware is government always being upfront to use Malay as the main communication channel when you go into government institutes, like places like where you register your IC, where you register your passport. We definitely use Malay because it's being used widely, and it's easier to actually use that to interact with a lot of different communities. I mean, most of us actually understand English, even if it's not as good. But then for all the generations that lives, in the rural area, they definitely use Malay as a common language.
For this context, the government absolutely plays a crucial role in this matter. Because Malaysia is rich in linguistic diversity, we have a multiracial society that communicates uniquely using their own language, like Bahasa Melayu, Mandarin, Tamil, and so on and so forth. And it's important to promote and preserve this. But government can develop or shape policies and education system where they should support not only English and Bahasa Melayu but also others as well. This diversity indeed a part of our national heritage, and I would say it's the beauty of Malaysia.
For the last questions, I do believe that when Malaysian people use English language not as a second language but as the main language in their daily life, our local language, which is Bahasa Malaysia, will eventually disappear, and as a result of the spread of English, we can see nowadays parents are eager to make their kids learn English at an early age but forget to teach our own local language. So for me, we can make the teaching method balanced by teaching both English and local language to promote Bahasa Malaysia and prevent it from disappearing as time goes by.
Based on my experiences living in my community, I believe that the English language has greatly assimilated with the local language. So there is a form of assimilation in which I think most Malaysian would agree with the term Manglish. So it's basically English that is used in Malaysia. It's a combination of basic English language and also the Malaysian culture. In a way, we would mix up those words. To those that are not from Malaysia, it would be hard to understand the language mixture between Bahasa Melayu and English.
It depends on the people that use it actually. But I mean, if it's more towards the city people, because people are getting used to talking English every single day in the city area instead of the people in the village area. So I think it's gonna impact those in the people in the rural areas more, and they have the opportunity to get to know English more as well, because this is the opportunity to learn new language. I mean, English is an additional language. Malay is a main language of Malaysia. So I think it's just an additional language. It'd be more easier for tourists to come to Malaysia to talk in English if they don't know how to talk in Malay. But at the same time, of course, we need to preserve our Malay language as well. But I don't think it's gonna get lost after a while.
I mean, it's something that might happen, but over the years, especially in Malaysia itself, some of us are not comfortable to talk in our own language. I guess, like I said, like in a work environment like myself, 90% of it we talk in English just because it's easier to communicate with everyone. And then you don't want to like isolate some of the others if you just talk in one language that people don't understand. Honestly, I'm not gonna say that it's gonna go away because it definitely can't. Language is not like something that is thrown away. It is something that people talk to every single time.
From my personal observation, I think yeah, uh, there's have been some changes. There is an increasing of using English, especially among the younger generation and in professional settings. But still, but for me, Bahasa Melayu remains dominant in most daily interactions. Okay, talking about risk, for me, yeah, there is a risk, unfortunately, as English becomes more dominant, especially in urban areas. Some local languages, as I mentioned before, are less spoken, particularly among the younger generation.
So how I maintain Malay language is I speak Malay with my family.
The usage of language could affect certain details, especially when I have to converse with people not only from Malaysia but also from other countries. So everyone has their own way of communicating.
I mean, just live normally, I guess. You can still talk in English and talk in Malay at the same time because in our country we have rojak. I mean, some people take rojak as something bad, but for me, it's a method to learn, to be comfortable in talking in your own language and also learning new language at the same time. So, what I mean was like, okay, you can still talk in Malay, but you can also talk in English at the same time, and somehow people understand everything.
And there's also a lot of us that is not lucky enough to get into an education that allow them to learn a lot of languages. So definitely it will not be gone in the future, but there's going to be a lot more people in these generations, in the younger generations, going to adopt English more than the Malay language as a main communication channel, I guess.
It's crucial to preserve these languages actively. Government, especially, or the related agencies, must somehow take necessary actions, maybe through education or social media and cultural activities. Okay, because they are very important, because they are part of our nation's identity and heritage.